This update is absolutely huge. In fact, I would go as far as to say that this is the most significant update ever to Marvel Snap. That's because the card acquisition of Marvel Snap has been one of the sore spots for many players since the start of beta. The collection track system, while it has its merits, has its flaws. And one of the major problems with a card game that makes it difficult to collect cards is that people want to collect the cards. They want to have access to the new things coming out, and there's been a disconnect between players being able to access the new fancy cards that are coming out and, well, just having to just grind and hope on some luck-based system to draw a card in Series 5 or to collect tokens and all these types of things, and they just ultimately didn't work. Now we have a new system, the Spotlight Cash system, which is going to greatly improve the average player's capabilities to collect cards. In this video, I'm going to talk you through everything you need to know about the collection track system, the updates that are happening with the Spotlight Cash system, and most importantly, how you're going to be able to get your hands on more cards in Marvel Snap. Let's begin by discussing the actual cache itself. Starting at collection level 500 and going every single 120 collection level, you're going to be seeing this visually distinct cache. These Spotlight caches have very distinct rewards and are different than regular caches. In fact, on a per week basis, the actual rewards are going to be defined at the start of the season. So you're going to know each week what's going to be available for that particular season. And what's notable about this is that they're going to be visible cards. You're going to know exactly what you're able to get, but there's also going to be a random Series 4 or 5 card as well. Each item's going to have a 25% chance to be pulled, and once they're all pulled, they don't actually just get repopulated. So when you pull one, the chances of getting the others increase until you've completely knocked out the entire cache. And then we'll discuss the Spotlight variants as well and a full kind of synopsis on how this actually plays out in the next slide. Essentially, this is how it works. Every single week, you're going to have the opportunity to get 4 individual cards. There's going to be a Spotlight cache, and then every 10 caches, or every 10 regular caches, you get one of these caches, and inside, you have a 25% chance to get, like, the new card, Jean Grey, an existing card, like Null, an existing card, like Living Tribunal, and then a random card of Series 4 and 5. The way that works from there is you basically pick your card. It's the new Jean Grey. That's exciting. From going from a 25% chance of each, you now end up with a Spotlight cache with a 33% chance to pull either Null, the Living Tribunal, or the random card. And then you continue unlocking them until you're guaranteed to get all 4 contents, eventually getting the 4th cache, for instance, being guaranteed to pull that last item. This is notable because if you're going to be min-maxing a little bit, which I think is important, like you're going to want to be able to use your resources to the maximum ability. If you know that you really just want Jean Grey and you don't care about Null or Living Tribunal, if you pull Jean Grey, it might be worth then saving your caches for the next week, for the next card release, to then take another 25% gamble on getting the new card every single time. So I think that being creative with how you're using your caches is going to be important in the long run. With that being said, when you actually collect all the caches, all right? So for instance, in this case, you would have gotten Jean Grey, Null, Living Tribunal, and then the random Series 4 or 5 card, which in this case is Thanos, indicating that you can actually pull the big bads. Now that you have all of them, the Spotlight variants now become active. So the Spotlight caches become Spotlight variants. And what you get is you get variants specific to each of the cards that's available in the cache, and then a random chance here. Now, the clarity of this is not clear. Is it another random Series 4 or 5 cards? Or is it a special Spotlight variant? I'm not sure. There's a new variant class that's being added to the game. We'll discuss that shortly, and I'm wondering if that's what this is supposed to be and not another card, but I don't actually know for sure. The way the graphic indicates is that the way the Spotlight caches would work after you get the first kind of offering of 4 cards is you get one variant, a second, a third variant, and then a chance at a 4 or 5 series card. That's what I see, but again, you know, we're still kind of new to this and we're still learning the ins and outs. So, how many cards can you unlock? This is kind of an important question a lot of people are asking. So regardless of collection level, all players are going to unlock more cards. The Series 4 and 5 system of the past is gone. And I'm going to quote the kind of the blog post, and they said, if you're a free-to-play player that completes your daily missions, you can expect a Series 4 or 5 card in your Spotlight cache almost every week. So you might be able to like actually pull a Series 4 or 5 card every single week. That is a huge difference, a huge improvement over the past, and we'll talk about that with a graphic shortly. It's also worth noting that You got cards prioritized over the variants. So the only time you get those special spotlight variants is if you clear out the cards first. That's notable. So cards over variants. And I love this idea. This was something, a recurring theme that I'd been hearing about this new system. And it's that you need to upgrade cards to get more cards. And I think that's really fun. Getting back to what this collection track was supposed to be in the first place, the idea of collecting, upgrading, getting new splits, but then like unlocking new stuff. I'm glad they're getting back to the roots of that. This is a huge improvement. And the token shop becomes a secondary option, but it's still available. And we'll talk about it now, but basically the token shop is becoming less prevalent. You're going to be getting less tokens. So tokens are a much rarer commodity, and I can almost see them being phased out eventually because you're going to see in a second, you're not getting very much. So let's talk about the actual numerical values here. So we have two sets here. This is the Series 3 incomplete player on the left and the Series 3 complete player on the right, who has a partial Series 4 and 5 completion. So if you've been playing since beta or been playing since launch, you're probably around here. Newer players will be roughly here. So the old system is that you'd basically get about per month. So both of these images are referencing on a per month basis here. If you basically do your daily missions, you'd probably get one Series 4 card, right? You get a whole bunch of random variety of things, about 4,000 credits, 800 gold, and 4,000 tokens. And you get about 9 Series 3 cards. Pretty cool. Now, that system worked pretty well for players, but it was when you became Series 3 complete that things really grinded to a halt. Because you actually got only one Series 4 card, you really weren't guaranteed any Series 5 cards at all, and you got enough tokens to basically buy one card for the most part. You got gold and credits. That's cool. But you really weren't unlocking anything. Look at that. When you were in Series 3 incomplete, you were getting 9 new cards a month. That turns into basically 1 or 2. And this is where the problem was, is this is what they were trying to solve. And they went after it. So now, if you're Series 3 incomplete, you're going to get 3 to 4 cards on average. Series 4 or 5 cards. You're going to get 8 Series 3 cards, 400 tokens, and 400 credits. It's notable, very notable, that the gold is removed. This is going to be replaced by the weekend missions, okay? But gold is now out of the actual collection track. For Series 3 complete players, 2 to 3 cards, and you should be getting a spotlight variant, so you should be able to unlock a special variant for each, one of the cards you got, and a premium mystery variant, and this is the new class of variant that is essentially a variant that is not a pixel. It can be a 1200 gold variant and a 700 gold variant. So it's basically any variant in the game, except for the ultimate ones, minus pixels, which I think is really good. But again, no gold at all. So min-maxing. So I've had an opportunity to kind of really think about how the system works. Now, we won't really know for sure until the system's launched. We're engaging with it, and we get to see how it actually ultimately plays out, because they're still going to be tweaking some numbers here and there, even effectively until the launch. But the system will be adjusted over time, but I do think that saving caches and targeting specific rewards is going to be the most valuable for most players, especially if you're free to play. So their intention is to actually release the contents of these spotlight caches on a per week basis for the entire month in advance. So you'll know that week 3, you're going to be able to get Thanos and whatever else and the new card that's coming out, whatever it is. Okay, Jean Grey. So you'll know that, okay, if I'm free to play, I need to save some caches. I want that week 3 card. So you can actually kind of hoard your caches, so to speak, until week 3, and then ensure that you get a better shot on actually unlocking that card. So, for example, if you really want a card, saving 40 caches basically guarantees that you'll pull that card, because each time you dip into that bag, you can almost think about the caches like a bag, and every time you dip into the bag, you're pulling something out at random. So you have a 25% chance to get this new card. Then it becomes a 33, a 50-50 when it's only 2 things left, and then finally the 4th time you're guaranteed to pull that last item out. So 40 caches guarantees the 100% chance, although you might get lucky and get that 25 or the 50-50 or whatever. I'm sure you understand that. But a very important thing of note right now is that any current collector's reserves or caches will be automatically converted into spotlight caches on release, 1 in every 10 at the same cadence. So you don't lose anything by holding onto your caches now and allowing them to convert into spotlight caches. But if you also want to spend them, this is a weird thing, right? And I'm sure someone on Reddit will do the math and stuff like that. But for me, you're going to get more tokens if you unlock your stuff now. Like if you open your caches now, you're going to get more tokens. However, you're not going to be engaging with this new Spotlight cache system. And I personally am going to hold my reserves, and I'm going to open them with the Spotlight cache system, because I think they're trying to sunset the tokens a little bit. If you really value tokens, you're going to want to open your stuff now. I think the average person will probably prefer to engage with this new system, because I think it's just more fun. Like, I think that might sound crazy, but like we can min-max and everything. That's what this slide's called. But I do think that this Spotlight cache system, in theory, should be more engaging from a collection standpoint. So I want you to really think critically on how much you value the tokens. Oh, and the gold, I guess, right? And the gold too, because the gold's coming out. So if you really need gold, you need to open your caches now, because gold's going to be, randomly within those caches. It's not a guaranteed chance, but you can get gold, and you won't be able to in the future. So that's a consideration. But the weekend missions should be resolving that. And if you own the cards featured, a premium mystery variant appears, and that's the one that could be a 1200 or 700 gold variant, but never a pixel. Spotlight caches will be announced at the start of each season. We talked about that. Here's a few important questions and answers, okay? And there's going to be a lot more coming out. And as these videos go out, you guys will have questions. And if you guys have questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. But here's something that I think would be the most common. So how do series drops factor into the new system? From the development team, they said that about 1/3 of new cards will still go to Series 4 directly, with the rest entering Series 5. Fewer cards are going to drop to Series 3 in order to keep the new acquisition mode kind of like well supplied. Because if they're just dropping everything to Series 3 because, well, the Spotlight caches won't have, like, you won't unlock Series 3 cards in the Spotlight caches. If everything's in Series 3, then like, what's going to be in the caches? So the caches have to be well supplied. So, that makes it perfect sense. So that's why, like, for instance, Jeff and Darkhawk weren't dropped the last month, because they wanted them to be part of the collector's cache system. Like, I would guarantee, like, I don't want to guarantee it because I don't actually know, but I bet you Darkhawk is going to be one of the first weeks of the cache system. It would have to be. I hope, right? That would be a good thing, I think. So, that is why you're seeing some of the better cards have been elevated, because I think they were ready to launch this system. And they're like, well, if we drop everything that's worth buying or getting, then the collection sucks, right? What will replace tokens and gold lost in the collection track? The intention of the development team at Second Dinner is that weekend missions should offset those losses, and that they're going to be monitoring the game economy, and that adjustments will be made if not enough gold and tokens are going around. I suspect that tokens will probably be a thing of the past, honestly. Gold has to be a part of the economy, though. If you're not getting gold, you can't participate in the bundles, and like the free-to-play player is at a huge disadvantage. So I do think the gold economy specifically has to be carefully watched, and I think they're going to be very cognizant of that. The gold economy, I think, is going to be one of the things that is going to be very focal for people when they're going to be engaging with this new system. And I do expect Second Dinner to be paying attention to that gold part. The tokens, again, my personal opinion, I know nothing. I don't really know any future modifications to the tokens outside of what's being announced right now. I feel like tokens might be on their way out. That's just me. But the token shop's not leaving, by the way. There's still going to be the token shop there. You're getting less tokens, but you're still going to be able to use it as a backup. Anyways, when is this launching? Their current timeline, and this could change, is going to be launching with the next patch. And so that's sooner than later, honestly. The most recent patch had Conquest. This new system will be implemented in the next patch, which is obviously several weeks from now. But it's sooner than later, and I'm actually personally excited. So I'm sure you are too, because this is a huge change. It's a huge change, and I think it makes the game better. And ultimately, guys, that brings us to our conclusion. If you'd like to watch more Marvel Snap content, check out this video. I've got you. And hit the like button if you'd like to support the series, guys. And once again, if you have questions, let me know in the comments down below. I'll be happy to answer. But ultimately, I think these are great changes, and one might just say it's a great time to be a Marvel Snap player. Have yourselves an awesome day.